quick award. Best press conference of the morning. We're not going to lead with it, but Rome Odunze was unbelievable.
Oh, my God.
He's so entertaining. He was awesome.
Which is why I have begged him for weeks to come on our show. I absolutely love Rome Odunze. That's good. He doesn't talk then.
I love him too. I'm in. Odunze. Take him 1 overall.
I've been trying to convince the PHNX guys that Marvin Harrison Jr. didn't even show up today.
Yeah.
Rome Odunze gave the press conference that day. I think that they, I think we all want him to be a Bear, but maybe they should trade back and just take Odunze.
Well, you also were in love with J.J. McCarthy today, were you not?
Well, so what I was – no, I mean, yes, but my takeaway from J.J. McCarthy, and I had a chance to ask him a couple questions, was it was one of those, I totally see why coaches love this guy.
Right.
Like, it was one of those, like, he is on top of things. He says all the right things, but he's still entertaining. And, there's a reason why all his Michigan coaches have raved about him. And probably why one of these NFL teams is going to fall in love with him. And like, were the Vikings picking 14th? Is that right? Like, does he get past the Vikings?
It's a fair question.
Within the only division, so that's something to keep in mind here. But so I thought of the quarterbacks, if I were to rank the quarterback press conferences, I'd go J.J. McCarthy, then Caleb Williams, then Drake Maye, although they were pretty close, and then Jaden Daniels.
And Daniels had a good press conference, I thought. You didn't like it?
No, I just have to order. I can't put everybody number one. I know I saw the clips later.
Oh, okay.
Well, because McCarthy and Jaden Daniels were talking at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you know this, but I'm only one person.
Right.
Hey, so I couldn't be at both.
Well, that's why I'm glad I brought it up, because
you guys were over there and I took care of McCarthy.
And so I didn't experience JJ. I did experience Daniels, and I found him to be very impressive. I mean, listen, let's not bury the lead too far. Caleb talked. Big day in Bears history. My impressions was that he was easygoing, comfortable.
Confident.
I'm not about fame and fortune. I'm about winning games. I mean, what's not to like about that?
Guys, before he said good morning to everybody, he was like questioning about his competitive toughness. And right from the very beginning, it wasn't just a light ease into his press conference. He answered it, went on with it, and then continued to answer questions for about 13 minutes. I thought he was just really confident.
The guy that came in hot. The NFL Network feed apparently didn't pick that first question up. And yeah, it definitely seemed like that guy, because he was kind of amped up as he was asking it, was trying to like draw him into a little bit of a fist fight, so to speak. And Caleb brushed it right off his shoulder. He answered it with a smile on his face, and then moved on to the Chicago reporters batting him around for 5 minutes about different things.
One of those guys batting him around. This guy.
Yeah, we had some fun.
Right in the front row. We actually have a montage of all of Greg Braggs' questions and Caleb Williams' answers.
I got a little excited.
We got to count the questions too. There were some bets being placed, and I think it went over. But let's just make sure. Here is Greg Braggs' one-on-one with Caleb Williams.
Caleb in Chicago, the fans are always divided about the quarterback. This is probably the most toxic time, just trying to decide what is the best route. What would you say to the fans of Chicago about the player in person that they would be getting if you were to be drafted here?
I'd say the player in person that they'd be getting, a person that cares for his teammates. Some of y'all may have seen, some of y'all may have not. I try to take care of all my guys, no matter if you've been fourth on the depth chart or you're the star player. So I care for my teammates, and then the other part is I'm a fierce competitor, as you may have seen after some games.
Ryan Poles talks about being an artist or a surgeon as a quarterback. How would you describe your quarterback play in that regard?
He does. I've actually heard that about the artist or surgeon thing, and I like to think that when it's time to be surgical, it's time to be surgical. There's been many games where it gets late in the game, and I've ran or scrambled and threw a crazy pass. That's been the artist, the magician. And then there's been times where even when I hurt my hamstring and I couldn't run, I sat in the pocket the whole time, the rest of the game and delivered the ball.
How important is it for you to fight to stay in the pocket?
it's important to be in the pocket. It's part of the game. It's also important to be out of the pocket. And just be, just as good as you are in the pocket and out of pocket.
You've received a lot of criticism when you showed your emotion with your parents.
Yeah.
What would you say to the people that were taking shots at that, and how that made you feel that hearing that criticism?
Yeah, there's not many people in the world that get to experience what I experience every game day, every practice day. So it kind of goes back to, it always kind of goes back to that for me. It's something that I only get to experience. It's something that I really care about, which is not only winning the game, but doing it with my teammates. And so every time we lose, I feel like I let my teammates down.
You brought up Michael Jordan and being immortalized.
Yeah.
Do you see Chicago as an opportunity? I mean, kids today still talk about Michael Jordan 20 years later. Do you look at Chicago as an opportunity to be that type of person from the NFL standard?
I'd say anywhere I go, that's my standard. That's what I play for, as y'all saw. I said, don't play for fame. I don't play for money. I don't play for jewels and things like that. I don't. It's just it's to go out there and win as many games as possible, be the best that I can. My plan is if I can be my best and play as many games as possible at my best, I think I can reach certain points like that.
So look. Good job.
Thank you.
I mean, look, if Caleb Williams can pass that test,
Pass anything, man.
Yeah, and to be clear, those weren't all in a row.
No,
we cut the clips so you would hear each one, but I did not just bully the entire thing where no one else was allowed to ask a question.
You did.
In fact, I even let Patrick Finley get one in.
You did bully the thing. You and Jason Leisure were there at 6:48 in the morning with your chairs in position. You didn't move the whole time. You by far asked the most questions of anyone today, and I salute you, buddy.
Thank you, sir.
I do.
I was trying to make you proud.
You absolutely did. There were other points this week where you didn't, but today you did.
I think one of my favorite answers in there was when because we talked to Ryan Poles to start this week, and he brought up the artist versus the surgeon. Mm-hmm. And he said that was brought up to him in the meeting. So I would really love to hear how that conversation went.
Well, who said that? That's not really what he said. Are you talking about Caleb? He said he heard about that.
Okay.
He didn't say.
It made it seem like he had heard about it through them. How I took it.
No, I listened to that pretty. I mean, he might have been, but he did say it was. He said more of like I heard about that, like
that comparison.
Yeah, like he probably heard more.
Maybe he saw the clip.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah. So
watching our show.
Maybe.
Although maybe that's a combine question. Are you an artist or a surgeon? Maybe that is what they're asking of them.
He wanted to underline that he can do both. So when he answered that, that's how I heard it.
How I would.
That's how I see him on film. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I would say his film shows too. So we have a bunch of these other clips, right? We'll just go in order, I guess. So
with the other people's questions. No, it was great. Honestly, it was the whole Chicago. I mean, the three of us were there. Jason Leisure was the first there. I got to give him credit. We wanted to be the first. Jason was here first, sitting in his chair. Patrick Finley, Dan Wiederer, the whole media pit, from Chicago. All of us
we know. We're going to let Caleb talk now.
Yeah, I know, but I just thought it was cool. I thought it was cool how the Chicago people were all there first over everybody else.
That's right. Because he's going to be a Bear is what everyone thinks, which is why we were all there. It was very.
It was like 3 Washington people there.
He's talked very nicely about Washington when that was brought up.
Here is Caleb on not comparing himself to previous Bears quarterbacks.
Whole lot of dominant quarterback play? No, not at all. I don't compare myself to the other guys. That's there or been there. I think I'm my own player, and I tend to like to, create history and rewrite history.
Well, he doesn't have to rewrite it in Chicago. He can just write. He can just write the quarterback.
He can
history
write it
himself.
in crayon. It would be better than what we've been dealing with.
So speaking of the Bears, here's what he said about the lure of joining the Bears.
I mean, the Bears was an 8-9 team last year, I believe, and 7-10. Sorry, and that's pretty good for a team that has the first pick. And they got a good defense. They got good players on offense, and it's pretty exciting, if you could go into a situation like that.
All right, who's bothered by the fact that he didn't know the record?
Nobody but you, because you're
Not
an
me.
idiot.
I am the only one then.
Yes.
Attention to detail.
Do you know USC's
8 and 5.
Okay,
But I'm not.
Point
I'm not.
taken.
I'm not the guy that's going to be getting drafted.
They're really 8-5. They won their bowl game.
They're 8 and 5 in the regular season. Whatever. I'm only games that matter to me are when
attention to detail.
only games that matter to me when Caleb are playing. I was just listen. Let's not inflame a certain portion of the chat who wants to fight about everything on that particular moment. But I was surprised. I was surprised that he didn't know their record. I was.
He said the word excited, but he didn't sound, I guess, overly excited when asked specifically about the Bears, because then we saw later on the Washington Commanders question, and he lit up.
He did.
He did light up when he was asked about the home team. But I mean,
I guess I missed the light up.
you could just see it in his face, Adam.
Okay.
No, he certainly did. I mean,
All
it's
right.
his hometown, so and I think if Washington was the number one pick, I
I'm sure
think
he's going to be ecstatic, right?
Right.
He knows he knows where he's going.
it's not 100% though. I mean, even Jim Miller was talking about it.
Based on what I'm hearing on this radio row today, not from actual people, but apparently it's Jaden Daniels is going to be the number one pick now, and what else? JJ is going to go number 2, so maybe the Bears can trade back to number 3 and get Caleb there.
I like that idea.
I'm going to stick with that. Things are not changing after today.
Yeah, I am.
the Super Bowl.
There's some bizarre things being said. I feel like around
Like
here.
I said,
think people are just tired.
That's what I said.
The longer you stay here, the
It's
longer you stay
combine
here.
fatigue, and I do think there's prospect fatigue.
Well, we sat with Dan Orlovsky at the Super Bowl. Then he's been away for us for a couple of days. Maybe he misses us, and all of a sudden, Jaden Daniels is the best
He's
QB.
not, that's part of it too. Yesterday, he said Jaden Daniels number 1.
Right.
All right, this is the kind of stuff that happens during draft season for sure. There's a lot of time to talk about the same thing over and over again, and then opinions change and evolve. Here's what Caleb had to say about his message to fans.
I'd say the player and person that they be getting, a person that cares for his teammates. Some of y'all may have seen, some of y'all may have not. I try to take care of all my guys, no matter if you've been 4th on the depth chart or you're the star player. So I care for my teammates, and then the other part is I'm a fierce competitor, as you may have seen after some games.
And
That was one of my favorite answers, by the way.
Yeah.
I loved that.
And speaking to the care for his teammates,
question,
Brendan
so
Rice was right next to him, went into the media scrum, is asking Brendan Rice questions. It's diffuses this is not an easy situation to be in front of all these people, cameras, and answer these questions. But there's Caleb Williams asking Brendan Rice about fantasy football and things like that. So he definitely cares.
his teammates all love him. No one has ever said a bad thing.
And I love that he listen, I like it. I love the top guy on the team. I love the 4th guy on the team. Everybody's working for the same goal. Let's go. I love that out of you, Caleb. Bring that to the table. I would say that's a Justin Fields-esque type of answer.
I had a chance to talk to Marshawn Lloyd at the very end of the media scrum,
Running back. Yep.
and I asked him about having a teammate that has that kind of echelon of celebrity appeal and making the kind of money he makes, and he was like, hey, he eats, we all eat. We never had an issue with it at all. So when you talk about that leadership and working with your teammates, he's trying to be immortal, which is a personal goal, but he doesn't forget about the people along the way. And talking about Michael Jordan. I'm not saying he's Michael Jordan, but if you remember in The Last Dance, he sat there and said, I wanted to be great, but I wanted all my teammates to be great, and I wanted them to come along with me on that. So there are certain types of leaders that are, of course you're going to look out for yourself, but you want everybody else to come along with you on that journey.
Another thing he was asked about in this press conference was meeting with the Flus and Ryan Poles.
Yeah, they were awesome. I spoke more about ball and things like that, just because the interviews are so short. So it was more about them getting to know me, getting to test my mental, what I know, the base things of what it takes to be a quarterback in the NFL.
Sounds like they had a pretty straightforward meeting. Here's the play.
They don't have a lot of time. I mean, this is just the beginning of that relationship building thing. I mean, it goes by fast. And if the Bears are only going to be able to get the medicals by having him come in, then he's going to be a top 30 visit guy for sure. They're going to fly out there for the pro day. There's probably going to be a dinner there at some point. So those are the situations in this pre-draft process that are better served for actually getting to know the player. That's why when these combine interviews tend to be more structured, which is just like how Flus explained it the other day, right? They put some things down in terms of plays, and then they get to a different part, and then when it's towards the end, then they test them on the recall. And I'm sure they just did their standard interview that they've done with all these other quarterbacks when they got to Caleb Williams.
So everything you laid out on the timing there, quick little sidetrack here. What do you think that, because there's so much noise about Justin and when he's going to get traded. Is it going to be today? Is it going to be tomorrow? And to me, logically, all that's going to happen before the trade happens, if it happens, but maybe the Bears have it's not, that trade is not so much contingent upon meeting with Caleb however many times they're going to do it.
Well, if you're going to trade Justin now, I feel like you got to at least have two quarterbacks that you're comfortable taking, because bad things happen. I mean, no one wants anything bad to happen, but guys get hurt in training. Guys, get into trouble sometimes. There's always those types of stories leading up to the draft. And so you can't just have, as much as Caleb Williams seems like a slam dunk no-brainer, there's even some risk there, though. Like, we're trading Justin today. Yes, we have the number one pick. You got to feel good about more than one quarterback if you're going to do it now, in my opinion.
And what are the odds that they don't feel good about any of the four quarterbacks we're talking about here? Like, to me, there's, I think a pretty good chance that there's two on that board at the very least.
Right. It also rewinds me back to the start of the show and Jim Miller about keeping both of them. He's not the only one that's saying that. There are other people that are around the team that have said it too. So I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think it's going to happen. I'm not totally against it. I have my concerns over how that would all work, and it seems like it would, predictably fall a certain way. It's nice talking about Drew Brees and Phillip Rivers and Aaron Rodgers and now Jordan Love, but where does Justin Fields rank in all those quarterbacks that are being named? You know what I mean? Like, I understand the recall to different situations, but like, this is not a situation where you have a Hall of Fame quarterback in your room that you can kind of navigate with a little bit more safety and understanding of who's actually the guy.
Right. You still want to get, you want to trade Fields and get picks back because the Bears do need to add more assets to this team to put Caleb Williams in a position to succeed. So that's also, I think, a part of the equation when you're thinking about that.
Caleb was also asked today on if he thinks about not being the number one pick.
It's not a thought in my mind. Yeah, I don't think I'm not going to be number one. I think I put in all the hard work, all of the the time, effort, energy into being that. So I don't think of a plan B. That's kind of how I do things in my life. I don't think of a plan B. Stay on plan A, and then when things don't work out, find a way to make plan A work.
Yeah, one thing Caleb Williams is really consistent on is how badly he wants to be the number one pick. It's been a goal for a really, really long time, and that's where this whole thing has been headed, I think, for a really, really long time.
Well, I understand the answer to what if I'm not? Why would I be thinking about that?
Well, and that's pretty standard for all these guys. Like, when you ask Roma Dunze, who's the best wide receiver in the draft, he doesn't go Marvin Harrison Jr. No, He says Roma Dunze.
I'm the only one that says who's the best person on this podcast, and no, I do say me.
You say you.
Yeah, no,
I'm like, where's this answer going?
Yeah, you say you.
Yeah, no,
without a doubt.
I just sit there and stare at myself in the mirror all day long, really, and just look at myself and say, "Wow, you're so good. You're so amazing, Carm.
You're really
I love you, Carm.
more of a Sam Hartman."
I don't know what that means.
He's got great hair.
Well, he's
Good-looking guy.
like a 6-year starter, so he's old.
Oh.
And he's not very good.
Sam Hartman's hair, though,
Yeah,
different level.
Carm's got pretty good hair.
Yeah.
When he
Okay.
combs it.
Yeah, when he
Okay.
showers.
Okay.
Have you showered this week?
I would hope so.
I've actually.
I hope so because he was laying
I've
on the
had-
floor last night.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I've
that
had a
was-
very good hygiene week, if I may say so myself. What's next, Hogue?
Caleb Williams. Guess what? He wants to win.
The main thing that I've, if they ask me or if it comes up, the main thing that I've said, I want to go to a place that wants to win. A whole, 360. So meaning from the top all the way to, the guys, and down to the janitors, the people that, that make everything run. It's just everybody wants to win. Everybody's a part of that, and we all take care of each other.
Reaction to that one?
I mean, I think it goes without saying that, football teams want to win, but there is a difference between organizations that, have the understanding and structure to really go for that goal.
Yeah.
And then there's other organizations that maybe their priority is elsewhere, selling tickets and the bottom line. And, so how aggressive the Bears are going to be in free agency to build a team, the infrastructure, the, amenities at Hallis Hall, which the Bears have certainly tried to upgrade. I think those are things that are important to a player.
What have you learned about winning, Kevin, Matt, Ryan, that perhaps you, learned along your way in Minnesota, Kansas City, Indy, Dallas, whatever, and that maybe the Bears didn't have when you first got here? I'd be interested if I was him to have him answer that question.
Well, and that's another thing. Like, as part of this wine and dime process throughout the next couple of months, I've said this pretty consistently. I think there's, and any job interview should work that way. By the way, where
Sure,
the prospect interviews the employer at the same time, and there's going to have to be an understanding that it actually is a good fit.
Right, but there's sometimes a formality with that. There's there's people that are desperate and need a job and want a job and are going to take it no matter what. And then there's other people that are getting interviewed that the employer is actually begging for them to take the job. So like, where is that dynamic with this kind of a prospect? Is it more about, yeah, I'll play for you because you're going to draft me, or what are you guys going to do that I want to be drafted by?
Well, that's where Caleb Williams has some leverage that usually doesn't exist in this situation where the prospects don't really have much leverage. They get drafted where they get drafted, and their contracts are already slotted.
Right. John Elway and Eli Manning used that leverage to play where they wanted to play.
Well, and this is not in the least a knock on Justin. I feel like I need to say that. But, when you listen to Justin talk about his best moment with the Bears, he was asked that question. He said his first preseason game, getting to run out on the field. If you had asked him in high school if he had, if he didn't think he was necessarily going to make it there at all, he was just trying to get to school, get an education. He didn't have this grand vision of being, I have a legacy talent, whereas Caleb actually has thought that way, which to me is completely crazy. Like, who has those level of thoughts that you want to have a legacy? What are you talking about? But that's the legacy ties into winning.
I do.
I mean, I was gonna say
Think about my legacy.
I was gonna say it sounds like Michael Jordan, but Greg just went Greg.
I think
Greg
just
ranks.
well, me, Michael, Caleb. That's the way the rankings go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right
I
there.
hope
Dude.
the NFL denies his combine request next year.
But I mean,
no.
seriously though, like he's got big dreams, and he's had them for a long time.
Who are we talking about?
Caleb.
Now?
This we don't need to break down that this guy was asleep in class, that was trying to do whatever you did with your life. But you've transformed, man.
School can contain me. I've outgrown school. And honestly, you're a little bit like Scottie Pippen. More comparisons. Like at first, Scottie sucked, but I'm gonna get you to top 50 of all time. Let's get to the next one.
All right, you want to hear some Drake May?
Let's do it.
Did he just say that he's Jordan? Because you already put a picture up on Twitter of himself as Jordan.
I did not.
Yes, you did.
No, it's a picture of me smoking a cigar with Jordan, and it's a very real picture.
Dude.
Can you talk about your relationship with Mitchell Trubisky?
Yeah, Mitchell. Yeah. Mitch has been around. Came back to North Carolina a few times, and he's been great. I think he hit me up before the season, and just said best of luck, and he's a great mentor anytime. The Carolina Blue, quarterback fraternity. Just try to stick together.
What would you say to the Bears fans that he was a lightning rod conversation in Chicago? Obviously, what would you say to the Bears fans following in his footsteps if you were to come to Chicago?
Yeah, Mitch. I think. We had some great years in Chicago, especially that one step year. I remember making the playoffs and playing well. So, I think a lot of people, they analyze based off the helmet. I think we're different players and different people, but at the same time, big fan of Mitch.
That was a brag special too.
You really went deep on Trubisky.
Yeah.
You went.
That was a curveball. I wasn't expecting that.
Well, he remembered Mitch's best year. He knew all about it. He knew that 12-14. He knew that Matt Nagy kept him under wraps until the fourth quarter when Trubisky balled out, got him in position to win the football game, and something bad happened that we won't talk about.
I mean, for me, I always try to look at things from the fans' perspective and what fans are talking about. So my first question to Caleb was about the dividedness of the fan base. That to me is the biggest story aside from who the Bears are going to take. And with Drake Maye, what fans always talk about is not his game on the field. It's this whole Mitch thing, the Mitch Trubisky thing, and following the ghost of Mitch and overcoming that. So that was an important question to me, just to hear his thoughts about that whole thing.
I found him entertaining, Drake Maye. He was like, yeah. With every
he seemed like a really chill guy.
All right.
A little southern
Matthew McConaughey vibe to him for
growing
sure.
up in Carolina. So yeah, it was. I thought Drake Maye. I thought his press conference was pretty good today too. I mean, all these guys did a pretty decent job, to be honest.
For sure.
JJ McCarthy, as I said earlier in the show, I thought he had the best press conference in terms of just like believability, leadership. Like you could see again, like I said earlier, why the coaches that he's played for. Even going back to Nazareth, and he gave Tim Rackey a shout out today too. He just came across as very genuine and like, okay, this is why everybody loves JJ McCarthy. Here's what he had to say about possibly playing for his hometown team, the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, it's been one of my dreams of mine, whether I'm playing for the Bears or against them. But yeah, Soldier Field, one of the oldest stadiums in America, and just growing up going to all the games and being part of a halftime thing where I was Player of the Week in Illinois, something that would be truly a dream come true.
What have your interactions been like with the Bears so far?
Been great, formal interview. It was awesome, just watching tape with them, going over our plays a little bit, and they got me up on the board to retain some information, and we did pretty well, so it was awesome.
Formal interview.
Oh, that's not surprising.
I like the way he said it, though.
Formal interview.
Formal interview with the Bears. I love Soldier Field. Soldier Field's the greatest. I was there at halftime.
He said it was the oldest stadium in America.
No, he said it was the greatest stadium and they should stay in Chicago.
That's all he said.
What he said. That's what he said. That's what he meant.
You can tell he loved it. You can tell he loves Soldier Field. I'll be on your side.
Thank you. And I don't want to be too over the top here, but you were impressed by JJ today. I'll say it like that.
Yeah, no, it was like I said earlier. It's just one of those things where it was like, oh, okay, now I get it. Now I get why Jim Harbaugh says everything he says about him, and the other coaches do, and I think a team is going to fall in love with him too. I don't think he's going to go number one by any means, but I think he's going to be picked higher than I had him in my mock draft at number 32, just because he seems to have all those intangibles, and even from his playing, there's something to be said for how good he is on third down, fourth down, key situations, and he wins football games. He just wins.
Yep. I had heard a story that he was at football practice back in high school and came to a hockey pickup game. He'd play hockey pickup at an ice rink in the area, and he showed up to it late. They had already started, and he showed up, scored the game-tying goal and the game-winning goal after just finishing football practice. Then you guys had the story. Steven told me the story about how he played with a broken hand, right?
Yeah, well, one of the years they won a state championship, he broke his hand in the semifinals, throwing hand. And they're like, well, sorry, man, you need surgery. You can't play in the state championship game. And he goes, no, I'm going to play in the state championship game and do the surgery after that.
And he threw 3 touchdowns?
Yeah.
3 touchdowns.
That's unreal.
Yeah. So Yeah, he's
That's a gamer.
he's got some, gamer's a good way to put it for sure. And I think that's why, coaches love coaching him.
We all silly like the mayor.